Look at these 5 matchsticks. 4 are long and 1 is short. In the next 10 seconds, this tiny piece of wood is going to decide which one of us lives and which one of us gets torn apart by a German machine gun. We weren't fighting the enemy anymore. We were gambling with our lives inside a steel coffin. This is the story of the death lottery. The hardest part of war isn't pulling the trigger. It's deciding which of your friends is going to die today. We were 5 men sealed inside a 30-ton steel coffin. Outside, the air was alive with lead. Machine gun fire hammered against our hull like rain. Inside, our commander held out his fist. In his hand were 5 matchsticks, 4 long, 1 short. Whoever drew the short straw had to open the escape hatch. They had to crawl out into the freezing mud and the bullets. We knew the stakes. No one spoke. The only sound was the humming of the engine and the pounding of our own hearts. I pulled my match. It was long. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. But then Miller, the kid sitting next to me, pulled his. It was short. He looked at me, and his eyes held a terror I will never forget. For an hour we sat in the mouth of hell, because we all knew the truth. Our track was broken, and whoever went out there to fix it wasn't coming back. This isn't a story about glory. This is the story of gambling with our lives.
10 minutes earlier, everything was routine. Our Sherman tank was pushing through the thick sludge of the Hurtgen Forest. Suddenly, an ear-piercing metallic screech tore through the hull. The tank violently jerked to the right and ground to a halt. The driver screamed, "Track lost! Track lost!" Those are the 2 words no tanker ever wants to hear. We were stranded in no man's land, an open field with 0 cover. The commander peered through the periscope, and his face went pale. "We're stuck," he whispered. "We are sitting ducks. If we stayed here, enemy anti-tank guns would turn us into a burning wreck in seconds. If we climbed out, the snipers were waiting." Inside, the heat was suffocating, a mix of sweat, fear, and diesel fumes. The commander racked the slide of his pistol. Determined, we have to repair the track. It's the only way. And that's when the lottery began. The decision was made. Miller and the loader would go out. I would provide cover fire. We cracked open the bottom escape hatch. As the steel plate dropped, the freezing cold and the smell of the battlefield rushed in. The smell of wet earth, diesel, and death. Miller dropped down first. The ground was a swamp. He sank up to his knees instantly. We crawled out from under the rear of the tank, using the steel body as a shield against direct fire, but mortar shells were landing everywhere. When we reached the broken track, hope began to fade. A massive section of the heavy steel links had snapped and was buried deep in the mud. The steel snake lay dead. Miller grabbed the sledgehammer. It weighed 20 pounds, but with the adrenaline and fear coursing through him, it must have felt like 100. "Move it!" the commander yelled over the noise. "Pop the smoke!" We threw smoke grenades to blind the enemy, but the acrid smoke just choked us, mixing with the fog of war. Imagine this. Bullets are zipping inches above your head. Zip, snap, zip, and you were lying on your stomach, trying to drag a 1,000-pound steel track through sludge. We were 3 men, heaving and pulling, trying to thread the broken track back onto the drive sprocket. 1, 2, pull! Miller screamed. We pulled until our muscles felt like they were tearing. The track moved an inch, then slipped and splashed back into the filth. Mud splattered our faces, blinding us. I looked at Miller. He was crying. Tears were cutting tracks through the dirt on his face, but he didn't stop. He was swinging the sledgehammer like a madman, trying to knock the broken pin out. Every time the hammer hit the steel, clang! It rang out like a dinner bell. That sound told every German soldier in the forest exactly where we were. Then, suddenly, the clinging stopped. There was a different sound, a wet thud, like punching a side of beef. Miller, who was crouching right next to me, suddenly stiffened. I looked at him. He tried to say something, but no words came out, only blood. A sniper. Through the smoke, through the chaos, he had found him. Miller collapsed silently into the mud, sinking slowly. His sledgehammer landed on my boots. The commander grabbed me by the collar and yanked me behind the road wheels. "Don't move," he hissed. Now there were only 4 of us. Miller's body lay just feet away, slowly being swallowed by the earth. Fear turned into panic. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. But we couldn't stop. If we stopped now, Miller died for nothing. I reached out and grabbed his blood-slicked sledgehammer. I didn't feel the cold anymore. All I felt was rage. "Give me cover fire!" I screamed. Now came the hardest part, the tensioner. The track was connected, but it was loose. If we tried to drive, it would throw itself off again immediately. We had to tighten it. But the massive wrench needed to do that was strapped to the rear engine deck, completely exposed. "I'll get it," the loader said. His voice trembled, but he looked me in the eye and climbed up the side of the tank. As soon as his head popped over the engine deck, the air erupted. Ping! Ping! Spang! Bullets sparked off the hull around him. We screamed from below, "Hurry! Hurry!" He unlatched the wrench, but his hands were slippery with grease. The heavy tool slipped and fell straight down into the deep black mud. Splotch! The loader dove off the tank and landed next to us. "Did you get it? Where is it?" We started frantically digging through the muck with our bare hands. It was getting darker, the mud was freezing, and the tool was gone. If we didn't find it, we were dead. My hand brushed against something hard, cold. "Got it," I yelled. We jammed it onto the tensioner. Now began the test of strength. Creak, creak. Tightening that track felt like trying to move a mountain. My knuckles were skinned, bleeding against the rusted iron, but I felt no pain, just the need to finish. We were seconds away from finishing when the ground started to vibrate. At first, I thought it was artillery, but the vibration was constant, rhythmic. Brrr, a deep, guttural, mechanical growl that you feel in your gut. Through the mist, about 500 yards out, a dark shape emerged. A Tiger tank, the apex predator of the battlefield. It was heading straight for us. Its massive 88mm barrel was slowly rotating in our direction. The commander screamed, "They're here! Hit the final pin and get inside, now!" I lifted the hammer. My arms were numb. The Tiger stopped to take aim. I swung the hammer with everything I had left. Bang! The pin seated. "Done! Go! Go!" We scrambled like rats back toward the small escape hatch underneath. The mud sucked at our boots, trying to hold us back. The Tiger fired. Boom! An 88mm shell slammed into the mud right next to us. A geyser of dirt and shrapnel exploded, throwing us against the steel belly of our tank. My ears were ringing, a high-pitched whine drowning out the world. But we were alive. One by one, we clawed our way back up the hatch. I was the last one in. I slammed the hatch shut and locked it. The inside smelled the same, sweat and fear, but it felt like heaven. I jumped into the driver's seat and hit the starter. The engine coughed. Whir, whir, whir. It didn't catch. My heart stopped. "Come on, come on!" I smashed my fist against the dashboard. The Tiger was loading its second round. I hit the button again. Roar! The engine came to life. I slammed it into gear and floored the accelerator. The tank lurched forward. Would the track hold? Clank, clank, clank. It held. We tore through the mud, zigzagging away from the kill zone. Another explosion rocked the ground behind us, but we were out of range. When we finally reached the safety of our lines, I killed the engine. Silence fell over the crew, just the ticking of the cooling metal and the sound of our own gasping breath. I looked down at my hands. They were stained with black grease, red blood, and brown earth. We had survived. But then I turned around to look at the gunner's station. Miller's seat was empty. Just his helmet sat there. We fixed the track, we made it home, but a part of us